Hey, what is going on, Aquarius? Butch Tarot here. I am going to do your September read. It is for the month of September. It is a general read, so it may not resonate with everyone. It is for your sun, moon, rising, and your Venus. Kind of brain bubble there. For all you cross watchers, roles can be reversed. Always feel free to comment down below. I am going to pull an oracle card from the Earth and Bone Oracle. Universe, give us a message for Aquarius. Give us the card for Aquarius. Specters, discernment, critical thinking, and insight. All right. With all that being said, let's get it. Universe, what message do we have for Aquarius for September 2025? All right, Aquarius. So, let me just soak this in for a second. So the first thing that I'm getting is I feel like this is someone that you know. This is someone that you have a history with. Whether or not this is someone that you're still involved with, or an ex, or a past person in general. I mean, I just feel like you already know this person. And I feel like with this person, there's so many doors here. There's so many walls. I'm getting the gist of this. It's almost like this person. This is someone I feel like you don't know if you can trust. You know, I feel like you want to. I feel like there's a part of you that really wants to, but I feel like I don't feel like you truly do. You know, with that Knight of Pentacles in reverse, because it always feels like they're hiding something. It always feels like there's something they're not telling you. Like they have secrets. You know, I just feel like I get the feeling that you just don't believe them. If I'm going to be straight up and honest with you, I mean, with the Queen of Swords in reverse, I feel like you don't believe this person. You know, I feel like you almost put a wall up to them. You know, I feel like that self-imposed prison is more so you. Like, it's almost like you're done with their bullshit and you're done letting them in. I mean, we have the Ace of Wands, so I feel like you've given this person more than one opportunity. And it almost feels like doing it again would just be detrimental. We have the Tower card. It feels like we're heading toward that Tower moment, like the point of no return with this person. And like I said, I don't feel like that's what you really want. You wish it didn't have to be that way, but it's starting to look like that's the only way this can go. Like I said, feeling like you don't necessarily believe this person, don't feel like you can trust them. Just feeling out of balance with this person, like just not feeling on the same page anymore. I feel like this person. I feel like you have an incredible connection. I feel like you dream. You fantasize about this working. I feel like there's a lot of love between the two of you. And like I said, sometimes that can be the hardest thing to let go of. We have the Page of Cups, and just fantasizing about this working, because I feel like there's so much with this person that works. I feel like you have an incredible connection with this person, and there's so much potential with this person, but it's like, how many times can we do this? Like, how many shots am I going to give you before I just realize that, I'm just making the same mistake over and over again? Yeah. That's what I have on your side. On their side, it's a little more complicated, but also makes this more complicated. I feel like this person, I feel like they truly do love you. At the end of the day, I feel like they want the same thing as you. They want this to work. And I feel like they struggle with that. We have the Five of Wands. I feel like there's this internal struggle with this person. Now, on their side, this is what I'm getting. Don't shoot the messenger. On their side, it feels like they're almost like always on probation with you. Like they've screwed up before, but they always feel like they're never going to get over that with you. Like you're going to always hold it against them. And they feel like they can't talk to you about that. It causes fear. We have that Nine of Swords. It's a late night, that anxiety, because like I said, I feel like this person wants to be with you. I feel like in a perfect world they would be. But like I said, I get this impression that they feel like they're in this probationary period with you that they'll never really get out of. Like, I do feel like this person screwed up somewhere along the line, and I feel like they just never could come out of it. We have the Five of Cups, that negative thinking, feeling like no matter what they do, they'll never get back to that place, that even playing field. And it kind of makes it more clear why you don't trust this person. Because, like I said, I feel like they did screw up. And I feel like there may have been someone else. Or, I do feel like a third-party energy. But I feel like that came at a time when they didn't know what they wanted. Now, let's not go full-blown and say, I'm not saying this person cheated on you. This might have been, for some of you, this may have been somebody they got with somebody else during a breakup. Because like I said, I do feel like you've given them multiple chances. For some of you, maybe it is someone that they had a connection with. It doesn't necessarily have to be a physical connection, but I do feel like there was somebody else. And I feel like at that time they didn't really know what they wanted. They weren't as into this relationship as they are now. Like I said, I mean, they want to change. They want this connection to change. They want it to move forward. But like I said, they don't know if you'll ever get over it. And their overthinking has caused them to be, I mean, it causes them to feel, to you, it causes them to feel distant. Like I said, like they're hiding something. You know, with that Five of Pentacles, that Taurus energy, I feel like with this person, they're overthinking their approach. You're overthinking their approach. What's going on with them. And neither one of you know whether or not to give to this anymore. Like I said, that internal struggle. We have the Aquarius. It's almost like, does this do me any good? Is this worth my time? And it's not cut and dry. That would be easy. It'd be easy to walk away if it was cut and dry. But like I said, in a perfect world, you know, like I said, I feel like you're both fantasizing about being with each other. You want this to be more. But I don't think it's over. I don't think it's over because of that. I feel like there is potential here. I feel like you both fantasize about this being more. So I really don't feel like it's over. I feel like there's still hope. I feel like your intuition is telling you that, even though there's part of you that's saying, okay, I'm not giving this person another chance. Okay, this is going to end with that Tower card. This is falling apart. I'm losing by being with this person or giving this person another chance. Them feeling like you'll never forgive them. But I feel like at the end of the day, you both still hold out hope. And I feel like your intuition is telling you there's something real here. And we have the High Priestess. Trust your intuition. That's the message I'm getting here. You know, I feel like things can change. I feel like things will change. But it has to be a group effort. You know what I mean? It has to be a group. The two of you. It has to be both of you on board. Both of you willing to make this work. And if you're not willing to make it work, then it's time to move on. You know, I feel like the hardest part of this is because when you're good, you're great. Some of the hardest relationships are our best ones. You know, I feel like with this person, there's something about them that just makes you feel different. You know, when you're on top, you're winning. You know, when things are going good, you're winning. But it's been a while since you felt like you were winning. Trust your intuition. Last card we have is the Knight of Wands in reverse, not making impulsive decisions. One way or the other, it's telling me don't make an impulsive decision. And I feel like we have to make an educated decision. I feel like we have to talk about this. I feel like we have to sit down and make things clear. Do you want to be here? How can we make this better? You know, and it's going to take both of you. And if both of you aren't involved in this, then it's not going to work. Spectre. Critical thinking and insight. You know, sometimes we don't have all the information, even if we think we do. Anyway, I'll get into that in a minute. With this person, with this read, I mean, we're getting Sagittarius and Aries. We have Gemini, Aquarius. We have some Taurus and Capricorn. Scorpio and Pisces. Like I said, I mean, in the message, I'm getting that they screwed up before. And, I definitely feel like there was a third party. Now, that may not be for everyone. That may not be a third party. There may be the illusion of a third party, thinking that there was someone else, or them thinking there was someone else. Jealousy. All these things can contribute. There's so many relationships that end because someone gets serious, and then all of a sudden the jealousy comes out as well. So, I mean, there's different, it's not a cookie cutter read. It's not a one size fits all. But that's the thing sometimes in a relationship. There's a lot of good we're holding on to. And sometimes bad relationships last longer than they should because we're holding on to the little good that we have. But sometimes there's a lot of good. And we have to decide, is that worth saving? And it's a hard decision. And especially if we don't have all the facts. Sometimes we have to have that communication. We have to open up, and we have to have the hard talk sometimes. Sometimes it's not just going to be easy. Sometimes it's not an easy fix. But is it worth it? Is the only question that should that should require an answer right away. Is it worth it? And if it is, it's got to be worth it to both of you. A good relationship, a healthy relationship, can have issues. Just because sometimes we have issues, sometimes people just want it's a fight or flight mentality. You either fight for it or you flight. You fly away. You're done with it. But sometimes we get in a situation where we don't know. And having all the facts, open communication, being transparent with each other, talking it out, sometimes can solve everything. Sometimes that solution isn't going to be you staying together. Sometimes it is. That's the thing, though. Knowing where we stand, knowing what we both want. That's why communication is so key. And a lot of people sleep on it. They don't realize how important communication is. It's like it's kind of relevant. A friend of mine a few years ago, he had heard, because he works on the road, he's a trucker, and he had heard that his girlfriend was fooling around. And so he started questioning her, and she denied it. And then he started always really being really suspicious around her, always wanting to see her phone, always wondering where she's going. Even when he was on the road, he'd be calling her all the time, asking her where she's at, trying to get her to FaceTime him. And he got so insecure about something that he heard, he ended up breaking up with her. And without even really knowing if it was true or not. And people like to say things, but generally people don't tell you that something's going on if they don't know, but there is people that do it. And I mean, so it leads me to believe either he didn't really want to be with her, or he just didn't really want to know. But he ended up leaving her because of something that he heard. You know, he wasn't willing to work on it. He wasn't willing to talk about it. And the funny thing to me is he even told me he didn't tell her what he heard. He didn't even give her a chance to defend herself. You know, he just got really suspicious and really started acting really jealous. And I honestly, I mean, the way he was acting, I'm sure that it got to a point where if he didn't leave her, she would have left him, because, I mean, who wants the jealousy, right? But I mean, she had guy friends, so all it could have been is somebody seen her with a guy and told him that she was out with some guy. And I mean, like I said, perfect relationships aren't relationships without problems. You know, or not perfect. Good relationships aren't relationships without problems. Good relationships have problems. They just have two people willing to work on it. Anyway, you know, it's. I think about it as like baking. Rose started baking recently, and it kept in this read. It was coming to me, and I get these messages. That's why I talk at the end, because I do get messages that I'm thinking about that pop in my head. It's like baking. You know, you try to bake bread. Maybe you don't get it right the first couple times. Maybe you got to mess with the ingredients. Maybe you got to, change some stuff up. But eventually, if you were meant to do it, you'll do it. You know, you can make it the first time, and if you screw it up, you can just say, no, I'm not making bread no more. I'm not doing bread anymore. This is stupid. I can't do it. Or you can keep at it. You know, Rose has been making bread lately, and it's something she never did before. And I know some people tried it and didn't work for them. Like, she's been doing really well. Actually, it tastes better than store bought. She's getting really good at it. But that's the thing. I mean, sometimes you got to work with the recipe to get it right. Sometimes you got to adjust some things, or you can just give up and never try it. I don't know if that message got across, but anyway, be good. Take care. Stay safe.